And instead of being in that rat race and competition and raising your status and materialism, maybe you should find a means of downsizing your life and simplifying it instead. Hello everyone, this is Ronan Blue, just taking my daily walk here today. And today's topic would be on downsizing your lifestyle. So this topic is might be tough for a lot of people because a lot of people are actually used to the lifestyles that they have at this time. And in some cases, some people have to actually learn how to downsize, especially in these economic times. We actually made those choices back in the day as well, just because I kind of saw what the direction of the economy was going, and I just felt that downsizing was probably the best way to really manage the situation at that time, over a decade ago actually. But it's a really hard process, downsizing. If you have a big house, for example, and you downsize to an apartment, for example, something that's really tough to transition into. But it is very much possible, and after having to downsize, you kind of get used to that kind of lifestyle. And that's exactly what happened to us. We got used to the lifestyle, and we actually figured out that you don't really need a lot of stuff. And that's what is hard for a lot of people to realize, that to live a good life, you don't actually need a whole bunch of stuff, like your furniture, your clothes, your shoes, your art, all of that stuff. When you think about it, it's only material things that in the end, if it doesn't have actual meaning to your life, then it becomes a little bit insignificant in your lifestyle. And that's what I found too. I mean, there's certain little items that I keep that I got from my girlfriend or some other friends. But to be honest with you, at that time I was very happy to receive it. I felt a feeling of appreciation. So I kept those items, and I have this weird mask thing. Maybe I can find a video of it that I can show you. But the reason why I kept it is because it had significance, because it came from someone I cared about. So that's the only real reason why I keep stuff around. But anyways, the point is, if you look at all of the items in your life, there's a lot of things that you don't actually need, and it's just taking up space. It actually becomes somewhat of a game too after a while. It's actually fun. Our game was to try to find as much space as possible, and in order to do so, we had to get rid of a lot of stuff. Like when I was laid off 4 years ago and decided to live this lifestyle and financial independence, because after all the calculations we were actually able to, I started looking at all of the stuff that was just sitting there. First off, when I opened up my closet, I saw all of my work clothes that were just collecting that dust. I used to be somewhat fashionable when I had that 9-to-5 job, a cushy office job. But I have all this office clothes just sitting in there, so I decided to give it away. And since my dad was getting a little older and he wasn't really buying too much clothes, and I noticed his clothes were kind of getting worn out, because he kind of lives a minimalist life as well. I mean, he can afford the clothing, but he just chooses not to because he's getting older. But I gave some of my newer clothes to him, and he was super happy. And I was happy that someone else was able to use the clothing that I bought over the years as well. But I looked at my closet, and there's just tons of clothes there, and it made me realize that I was buying a lot of stuff that really definitely had no meaning in my life. So that's what you want to look at. All of the items that are in your home, you want to see whether or not each of those items has some kind of significance in your lifestyle. So essentially what you want to do is you want to look at all of the items that you have currently and then split it up into two separate piles, right? One pile is for the things that have a lot of meaning in your life, and the other would be things that you don't really have any significance to. And it's fun going through every one of those items, and you'll find that when you gather all of the items, you have quite a few, right? More than you probably expect. Just getting a little bit windy out here, but that's definitely, you know, by creating those piles, you can sort out the things that are important to you and you know, aren't important to you. But you'll find that you'll start appreciating the amount of space that you get, and it actually cleans out a lot of things too. And there are hoarders out there that collect items, and the reason being is because they have a hard time letting go of stuff, and they have items that reach the ceiling, and you wonder why over the years. You could have actually used those items, given it away, donate it, let someone else actually use it, other than you know, having to collect and crowd up your space. You might also have some stuff in your garage just sitting around as well. You know, the old camping gear where you no longer go camping or something, or you might have skis as well. You can either sell those or give those away, but we actually, you know, keep the things that are worth it, and we actually love going camping. So we actually spent about $3,000 on our camping gear, and we let it sit comfortably in the garage, just because we know that we're going to be using it. But the other stuff that are stuck in the corner there, we just get rid of it, and you know, all that extra space is pretty awesome. And once you start sorting things out, you'll start to realize that a lot of this stuff you don't really need, and you start to question everything you purchase going forward. Like whenever you're in the store, you'll probably start doing a lot more research on whether you can see whether or not you can use that particular item or not. We definitely do that, but what we do is we just do tons more research whenever we purchase something, right? Now that we know that a lot of the stuff that we purchased in the past didn't have any significance in our lives, you analyze everything, see if there's any you know, good use case for the item that you buy. Like for example, we bought a Roomba, and we actually love that thing. It's actually pretty expensive, but the thing is, it cleans our floors every second day or so, and it does a really good job. And you know, it's a little bit more expensive, but you wait for those types of purchases that you make, right? The more you wait, other than buying it right on the spur of the moment to satisfy that instant gratification, you actually go ahead and research what you're going to purchase. So it's actually a lot of fun too, because you try and compare it with all these different kinds of products out there and see which product actually fits you uniquely in your situation. So yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of stuff, but the stuff that we do have does have really good use. So actually you get more comfortable with the idea of downsizing, right? Because you have a lot less stuff. So what you do there is try and look for a place that's actually smaller in size, and the benefits of that would be that you'll figure out that you don't need a lot of space, therefore you don't have to clean as much, and also it's gonna lower your utility bills as well, because the smaller the space that you have, the easier it is to heat up or to cool down if you have air conditioner. So yeah, so you want to look at the benefits of downsizing, and also you don't have to pay that big mortgage payment as well, having a smaller place. And over the years, especially if you stay in that one particular home, you'll be saving a bundle of money. There's a little bit windy over there on the other side, so I have to move over here. It's still a little bit windy, but what I was saying was, you know, downsizing isn't an impossibility, even if you get used to your current lifestyle. You know, you can always downsize on a number of things in your life where you have to kind of question the things that you have. Like for example, having 2 cars, do you really need 2 cars in your life? You can actually survive with 1 car, and you can actually travel by bus or use other kinds of transportation as well. You can carpool with other people, find all the alternatives to simply get from point A to point B. And also you can downgrade in you know, eating out less from at restaurants, and actually this pandemic actually showed that a lot of people are able to save a lot of money during this pandemic, because they're inside home cooking. They just go to the grocery store to buy their ingredients to cook, and they have actually found that it's, you know, it's troublesome to cook, yes, but if you get used to it, then they have actually discovered that it's a lot cheaper to cook from home, and they save a lot of money during the time they were indoors. So a lot of people actually have discovered that there are a lot of ways you can get by with little, and you can also keep yourself from buying those expensive airplane tickets to exotic places, and you know, those hotels as well. I mean, yeah, there's ways to really get around it, and then you can travel domestically, even in your local area. There's a number of places where you can rediscover where you live, and it's actually pretty exciting as well, to just discover what's around you, and never to really underestimate the happiness you can get by just exploring your local areas. So that's another means of downsizing your life, but not to the point where you're depriving yourself though. I mean, just finding alternatives to the lifestyle you currently have, and instead of, you know, being in that rat race, a competition, and you know, raising your status and materialism, maybe you should find a means of downsizing your life and simplifying it instead, because for all the items that you have in your life, it takes a lot of energy to maintain them as well. So the less stuff you have, the less you have to maintain, and you actually become a lot more time rich. And who knows, there's certain things that you can discover out here that might make you happy, find your own passions. You can also figure out what life was like 1,000 years ago, or maybe even 50 years ago, how people spent their time to enjoy themselves. I'm sure that a lot of them came outside, like I am right now, to enjoy the blue skies and nature and the fresh air. And just don't be fooled by how society, you know, always tries to push those brand names at you. You know, the materialism. It's you get that constant pressure from your friends, your family, always telling you to get that big house and the 2 cars and all the materialism. You know, the definition of happiness could be defined by different ways, and I found a world outside of materialism to make me happy, you know, and I get happy just from the sunshine on my face, and it's absolutely free, right? Imagine that. It's always your mindset, right? Other than getting that instant gratification of getting stuff that could potentially give you a temporary feeling of satisfaction, there's a lot of stuff around you that would actually give you equal to or even above the happiness you would get from getting a piece of furniture, for example. So yeah, I just have to really look at and simplify your life. There's a lot of beauty in simplicity. So other than trying to fill up every corner of your home with just stuff, try and do the opposite and try and get as much space as possible. There's actually a lot of it kind of frees your mind when you see a lot of space around you. I mean, like I said, it's not like you won't ever buy anything, but you just have to be very selective in what you purchase, like we are. Like sometimes when we try and think of purchasing something, it takes us weeks of research, right? Because there's so many products out there trying to compete with each other here and there. So we do a ton of research before we, you know, we purchase it. And some other things that we do is we just write it down on a piece of paper, and it's kind of like sitting there for a couple of weeks until we look back to it and we think, do we really need what we thought we needed a couple of weeks back? And it turns out most of the time you don't really need it. So that's another way as well. And another way would be to calculate all your purchases, or before you purchase something, you want to calculate how many hours it's going to actually take you to buy that thing. And you know, it could be for anything, even like for an iPhone, for example, $1,000 iPhone. How many hours will it take you to purchase that? It might actually take you half a month to do so. You know, all of that time you spent at work is going to be bought on a piece of device that you probably won't be using. Well, tell me what you think of downsizing your lifestyle and whether or not you would do so, and what you think about it in the comment section below. If you like this vlog, please don't forget to give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell for more of my coming content here. Thank you for watching my vlog. Be free, gain wealth, and travel far.